So we are saying that when we talk about a business plan, it is primarily a written narrative, usually between 20 to 35 pages in terms of length, which systematically and strategically describes what a new business plans to accomplish. So basically, this 25 to 35 page document usually presents a story of what a business is or what a business wants to be in the future, why the business is interested in that particular community of practice, the costs and the marketing plan that have been marshaled in this plan, then the sources of finance or avenues where the business intends to procure money to finance or fuel the activities of the business. And it also tries to estimate projected earnings that will accrue from the business activities. Now, typically speaking, a business plan or the document, when it is finally written, it has two main purposes. In other words, we say it has dual uses. The first component of its usage is for the internal running of the business, whereas the second audience of this document is the outside environments of the firm. So when we say the business plan as a document is purposively trying to satisfy the inside of a firm or the internal component of a firm, it simply means that the plan is going to serve as the blueprint or the roadmap which all members of the organization will follow to achieve their long-term ideals. When we say the document is serving an internal purpose, or it is serving those who are inside the organization, it simply means that the document is acting as a blueprint or a roadmap which will guide the activities of the people working within the organization. Conversely, when we say the document is serving a purpose of satisfying the external component of the firm, it means that it is picturing potential investors and other stakeholders as its key audience. And it is trying to make a case to justify why they should put their money into the business. So for a potential investor, when they pick your business plan or when they pick the document, they are envisaging to be convinced on why they should spend their hard-earned money in your business. Some of you still have your microphones on. Please turn it off because I'm recording and otherwise it will disrupt the proceedings. If you have a question, just raise up your hand, then I'll attend to you later on. Good. So all that I said can also be now, why create a business plan? Why do we create a business plan? Research indicates that it serves two main primary reasons. Just like the purpose is for those insiders and outsiders, the rationale behind the creation of a business plan primarily also serves two main reasons, for internal reasons and external reasons. We say a business plan is serving an internal reason when it forces the founding fathers to systematically and strategically think through every aspect of its new venture. So they are now considering why they are into business and why their business is different from the existing ones. But we also expect them to push further by indicating how they believe all their projections and future aspirations can be achieved. So that is why it has to be detailed enough to serve as a roadmap or a blueprint for the internal stakeholders. Now, for the external reasons, we say that the document communicates the merits of a new venture to outsiders, such as investors and bankers. In other words, why should an investor put their money in your firm instead of a well-established firm currently in the market? Or why should a bank lend you some money to start your venture when there are viable ones currently in the business market? What is compelling and novel about your idea? So those are the reasons why we prepare a business plan so that you can cogently and articulate your intentions in the document. Now, who reads the business plan? Who are the main audience of the business plan? So from the preceding slides that I have presented, you can deduce that primarily there are two main audiences of a firm's business plan. And we can deduce it from the internal and external dichotomy. At the internal section of the business, we are referring to a firm's employees who are construed as the most vital assets that can be relied upon to achieve the new venture's strategic imperatives. In other words, you can have all your other factors of production, but it is these people, the employee or the human resources, who are now going to convert them and add value to it. So they constitute a strategic audience which must be communicated to properly through the business plan for them to know their locus. Then, of course, the second one would be the outside audience, which are the investors and other stakeholders like a bank that you are approaching for them to lend you some money. So, whereas a clearly written business plan helps employees of a firm to operate and think and move forward in a consistent and purposeful manner, a firm's business plan must also make a case for the firm to look good in the eyes of investors and other prospective lenders. Okay. Now, the guidelines for writing a business plan. To write a business plan, it is just like the project work you'll be doing, the thesis that you'll be writing. I think by now you should have been allocated some supervisors where they will be taking you through the various proposal writing guidelines and the thesis writing guidelines and so on and so forth. In the same vein, writing a business plan can also not be done haphazardly. There is a guideline that one needs to follow. Otherwise, you will not even look serious in the face of investors. And don't forget, investors are people that construe time to be money. And so they will not like to be wasting a lot of time listening to you when you are not able to make your point. So it becomes imperative that you follow the guidelines and make it much presentable and compelling to convince whoever your target audience is. Now, the content of a business plan ideally should give a clear and concise information on all the important aspects of the proposed venture. So you are having a nice business idea and you want to convert it into a business venture. How do you move away from the ideation stage by putting it onto a paper, which will convince others? You can achieve it by following this guideline that we'll be looking at shortly. Now, another thing I want to draw attention to is that the business plan, in terms of its contents, it must be long enough to provide sufficient information, yet it must be short enough to maintain readers' interest. And that is what I construe as the miniskirt principle. Miniskirts. You all know what miniskirts are. When you talk about a miniskirt, what is it?
They're very short.
It's very short, but it does not expose the vital genitalia of the one wearing it, right? Good. So,
yes, most of them.
Miniskirts are long enough to cover the vital parts of a female, but short enough to be attractive to the onlookers. We also say that the business plan must be long enough to provide sufficient information, but short enough to maintain readers' interest. So the point I'm driving to over here is the issue of parsimony. You should be able to economize whatever you are saying, but it should also be succinct. At the end of the day, you should be able to say all that you want to say within a minimum number of words or characters. So ideally, we don't expect you to go beyond 35 pages. The moment you exceed this and you are not having a catchy executive summary, then the chances that investors will throw it away is very, very high. Okay, now let's look at the key components. So ideally, we have the cover page, the table